BugTide had its beta run its course over the 14th through the 16th, and I had a really great time playing it. Hey, what's that asterisk doing there? Look, you only ever get one first impression, and I'm not really sure if this was, the best it could have been.
Oh my god, there's a bear in my oatmeal!
As expected, there are bugs everywhere. Managed to fall through the floor a couple times, as did an ammo box. Recoil doubles up on occasion. Everything going on in this clip. You know what? You get the idea. You can pull the classic, oh, but it's a beta. It'll be fixed at launch. 'Cause, that's always been true. With no exceptions. Ever. Hasn't it, Bannerlord? Quite frankly, they've got a month, and something tells me the Omnissiah isn't going to grace us with new maps that don't look the exact same as all the other ones. This game has the Space Marine problem where everything is just the same gray, drab, and boring Modern Warfare 3 combat arenas on repeat. It's possible to have media be set in one region and have unique areas, hell, even Vermintide did just that. The first thing you're thrust into is character creation, and, as always, my name is too hot to be allowed. Sure, I'm glad I paid the government all that money to get it changed. There are 4 classes right now, and it's currently unclear if more are to be added. To represent them best, I wanted to pull up some voice lines from my beloved Dawn of War. From most to least sane, there's the Ogryn, who sounds like this.
Sure thing, boss.
The Guardsman, who in Dawn of War says this.
For every one of us who falls, 10 more will take his place!
The Fanatic.
My scars prove my worth!
And lastly, the most sane of all, the Psyker.
Witness your doom!
Okay, maybe I'm just cherry picking. Let me see what other voice lines he...
So shall it learn to fear me! Rip their thoughts asunder!
Okay, now this should go without saying, but this is the guy I played most in the beta. Now, because everyone loves when I cover balance, let's go over this incredibly subjective topic like I know everything objectively. Ogryn and Fanatic both get a charge, and Veteran gets extra damage for 4 seconds. Apart from weapon choice and some number differences, everyone plays pretty much the exact same. Here's a clip from the Ogryn trailer, which released recently, trying to take on a single Mauler. The clip ends before he even finishes him off, and here's Psyker's go at the exact same enemy. Psyker gets a head pop which can be used to instantly kill everything short of bosses in 1 to 2 hits, with only a 3-second channel and can do so through walls. And this is on top of them also getting an instant knockdown to everything in front of them, which also resets their Zinch-ometer. To say this felt a little unbalanced would be a, slight understatement. Watch this boss fight. My allies are pelting this thing with all they've got. The damage they do is kind of a pittance relative to the Psyker, who is dodging around like John Woo, zapping this thing like a psychic machine gun. I would liken the dynamic to a group of hunter-gatherers armed with javelins and swords, except one of them is just straight up carrying a fucking 50 cal with smart pistol rounds. Oh, did I mention that every time you kill something with your lightning chambered smart pistol, you also get half of your armor back? I would just like to bring up very fast that my point in bringing up all of these imbalances is not to say that Psyker should be nerfed. I would just like everyone else to be equally interesting. Now, I'm just gonna hit you with the age-old argument of, now back in my day when I bought a game, I just owned it. The Dead Space Awakening DLC is literally worse than Satan. Ah. Just sit tight, I have somewhere that I'm gonna go with this. Each class has access to their own set of weapons, and by that I mean these 3 get access to all of the same weapons, with 2 unique per class, and the Ogryn gets a bunch of unique weapons. Actually getting them takes forever, and it's kind of up to luck of the draw. Let's look at the golden classic of co-op horde shooters. I have played this game for half of 1,000 hours, and I'm certainly not alone. You know how much progression is in this game? Steam achievements? Maybe? You launch it and have access to everything right away and can do whatever you want. It doesn't do some dumb shit like lock expert realism behind completing campaigns, you can just go do it. I didn't need to be fed a Hatsune Miku camo for my AK to keep going because, first of all, I just got it from the workshop, and secondly, I played the game because it was just straight up fun and has incredible writing. BugTide should just include a loadout selection screen. Okay, see, that was a pretty shit argument, which is overly personal and just boils down to old game good, new game bad. Left 4 Dead's progression is tied into its levels and you get better weapons as you go along, and BugTide is a hero shooter with a large focus on character progression rather than, map progression. Which one of these is better is subjective, but they're not really comparable because the weapons are distributed totally differently from one another. Instead, let's look at another horde shooter with a big progression focus. Alright, now watch this. I'm gonna make a dodge build. Actually, you know what? I'm feeling like an armor build. You see that? You can change your entire playstyle at the drop of a hat based on what you want to do. Here you have to go through the chore of wetting the grindstone for 10 hours first, and that's per character. This is not to mention that getting a new weapon in Payday is as simple as clicking it in the inventory, whereas BugTide has a constantly rotating store with insanely unclear numbers and weapon details, because the weapons are framed like a looter shooter for some reason. I haven't really mentioned any of the progression past weapon choice because there really just isn't any. The feat system is dull and barely explained, and in general left very little room for any sort of interesting build ideas. Some people might enjoy the distribution of weapons, and that's fine, but I think the system of per character progression instead of account progression that separates things as integral as your crafting materials is pretty objectively terrible. Deep Rock kind of does this as well, and while I don't really like it that much there either, at least your account is consistent and you can get stuff for all 4 classes instead of 4 individual characters, each with independent progression. The equivalent is if in Deep Rock, you could only get overclocks for the character that you're playing and all of your resources are entirely separate based on minor. Thankfully, the interaction between your characters might change after the beta. The crafting materials literally didn't have a use, after all. Performance was a big sticking point for most people, and this right here is a simulation of what my first game of BugTide looked like. It might surprise you to hear that I absolutely do not care. Optimization tends to be one of the last things focused on in game dev, because optimizing stuff that you're prototyping and might end up removing is a waste of time. They do pretty much only have a month, assuming they don't 2077 this, so I think it running like a 2-legged donkey at release is a lot more likely than it running like a animal that goes fast. But given a few more months, it should be pretty alright. Warhammer 3 managed it after all, and that was pretty apocalyptically bad at release.
Oh my god!
Now, if the industry could come together to universally roll back graphic standards a decade so that games actually ran well, I would be overjoyed. The developer Fat Shark is also pretty infamous for having shitty launches in the past, and it seems like the gaming cabal have already decided this game is bound for Shittown 3000. I actually have pretty high hopes the game will turn out alright, as what I played was really fun, it just kinda ran like shit and felt very unpolished, and both of those are literally what you should expect from a beta test. Just let me use my own goddamn name, please.
Go, but what's in here? What the fuck?
That doesn't look right.
Sam, I stumbled across the missing texture.
That's pretty good.
Oh my god, Sam, the
Oh
corrupted
my-
texture's everywhere back here. We're gonna be rich.
What the?
What?
Oh, what?
No, Sam, I lost it. No.